curtains, the nightmare before Christmas. Oogie's Revenge. 'Twas a long time ago, longer now than it seems, in a place that perhaps you've seen in your dreams. For the story that you are about to be told took place in the holiday worlds of old. Now you've probably wondered where holidays come from. If you haven't, I'd say it's time you begun.
By a non-local board. This is Halloween, everybody knows. Another magnificent Halloween, Jack.
This year's Halloween was the most horrible yet. Thank you, everyone. Something's missing. There's got to be a way to make Halloween more hideous, more terrifying, more frightening. This can't go on.
Tear away from
Toll robber! Toll robber! Toll robber! Toll robber! Toll robber!
I know! We'll scare those monsters out of the pumpkins. Give me just a moment.
Is the doctor himself again?
Yes, he's making a device to help us defeat Oogie's army.
Jack, do you think this might be helpful too?
What's this? It's Sandy's costume!
Monsters have control. Look out! It chills me to my soul. They're gathering in presents to ignite them. Don't they know who they are for? Oh no!
Games, brains, and a headbanging life here. Merry Christmas, it is that time of year. And when it comes to doing a flashback for a Christmas game, do you know what I mean? We already did Christmas nights last year, so at that point I was like, shit, because Sadly, there just aren't that many. There are DLCs, like the Saints Save Christmas for Saints Row and stuff like that, but actual themed games and so on, it's very, very difficult. However, thankfully, we did come up with one, as you can see by the title, one that kind of forgotten about because it's not backwards compatible on modern consoles, so it's kind of just been forgotten about. But it is, and I still have it. I still own it because I always kept it. The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge. It's an action-adventure hack-and-slash video game that was for the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2. And obviously based on the stop-motion musical fantasy film, The Nightmare Before Christmas, which we've both seen quite a bit of. Yes.
Yeah. Brilliant film.
Yeah, absolutely. Love the film. And it is a Christmas film, not a Halloween film. You could watch it at Halloween, but it is a Christmas film. Let's be serious, you know. What next? Die Hard isn't a Christmas film. Get in the bin. The game is actually a sequel to the film, though. It was released at the same time in North America as The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Pumpkin King for Game Boy Advance, which is a prequel to the film. A GameCube version was planned, but was cancelled. And the Xbox version was only released in North America and Europe. Japan never got it. And as I already said at the start, even though I own it, it is not compatible with the Xbox 360 or the Xbox One or what I believe the Xbox Series X. And so on. So that's that. But as always, things we like, things we don't like, favorite moments, scenes, bits of music. That last one, again, is a bit tricky here. Because a lot of this was first with memory, because memory first, what did I really remember? And then watching a bit of YouTube content and going, oh yeah, that's how it worked and that's how it played and so on. So do you want to get started with something you like about it?
Yeah, I mean, mine was the exact same. Was memory first, and I watched a bit of YouTube. I was like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to start off with the obvious one, the music.
Yeah.
You know, the music is for me, it makes the game because it's beautiful. You know, and yeah, the music's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it uses a lot of the soundtrack from the film, but not like the actual recordings. I think it's variations. There is a little bit of sameness over and over again, but if you like those songs and you like the film, it kind of works quite nicely with the whole sort of theme of the game anyway, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And my first one is I think it still looks great. If you're going to make a Nightmare Before Christmas game, it needs to capture the look of the film. And I think the game does a pretty good job of that overall. I think it kind of nails the aspects with the backgrounds and the crooked houses when you're in Halloween Town and stuff like that. The Christmas side of things is very, very bright and pretty and snowy, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've only got two likes. My second one is the story. Actually, quite thought it was a very good story.
Okay, really?
Yeah, I actually quite enjoyed it, actually, yeah.
Okay, all right. I've got something to say about the story, but it's not on the good side of things. The Soul Robber. So when you kind of think about, how are they gonna make a Nightmare Before Christmas game before you'd even played it? You're like, how does that work? Like, what does Jack use as a weapon? How does that work? And obviously they came up with this idea of this green whip, basically, and call it the Soul Robber, which was given to him by Dr. Finkenstein. And I think it's a pretty cool idea. It really, really works, particularly as it's how it's tied to Jack's hand and it's whip-like. Nice touch. Also, of course, later, unlocking abilities to change into other variations of Jack, including Santa Jack and the Pumpkin King, which varied up gameplay and combat. Now, I will say, although you could change to them, you probably not like me, always kind of stuck with Jack Skellington as he is because of the Soul Robber. But it was cool to have that option that you could switch into Santa and throw the presents and shoot the fire as Pumpkin Jack and so on. Nice way to vary things up. And last but not least, the grading system. So while it is obviously kids can play it and enjoy it, there's stuff there for a hardcore game if you want, which is games are graded between S, A, B, C, and D, depending upon how quickly you did it, how much damage you took, and so on, and so how many enemies you frightened by sneaking up on them. So, you know what I mean? There was a replay value. I found you could go back and try and get the best grade. Yeah. Okay, then. I had more than you. Look at me.
Yeah. Well, I thought you would, as in you're a bigger fan than I am. This.
Well, what about the things we don't like then? Do you want to? I'll get us started then with the one
Yeah.
that you touched upon with you liking. I think the story is actually a bit crap. And it's because it ultimately just rips off what the movie does. Jack gets bored of Halloween again. He disappears for a bit. Oogie Boogie takes over the town, and Jack must stop him. Okay.
Go with
Don't
what
get
works.
me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I know what you're saying. Now, what else could you really have done? Like, there really wasn't much to do, and ultimately, it's a safe bet. If you're going to make a game about The Nightmare Before Christmas that isn't the film, and you're making a sequel, you're just going to go, well, let's just keep it safe. And Oogie Boogie comes back and so on.
I always hope that at some point, if they, I mean, obviously you won't now, but if they were to make another movie, maybe Jack goes through another door. Maybe
I
like
used to think that. I used to think that, and then I thought, wow, that's going to be rubbish. One of those doors was St. Patrick's Day. One of those doors was Thanksgiving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. True.
There isn't much. It's thankfully it's the sort of thing because of how it was made and the style and all that is untouchable from a remake or a sequel. It seems. What about you? You got anything?
Well, I mean, I know you said obviously in your life about how obviously it still stands up today, you know, graphically wise. You know, I mean, at certain points.
It looks good. I wouldn't say it stands up graphically. I think it looks good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would agree. It looks good, but for me, the again with like most of these games, the bosses are pretty poor. You know, I mean, it kind of this game kind of reminds me of. I know it's silly, but it kind of reminds me of like Medieval, but obviously different storylines.
I get where you're coming from because of the whole gothic nature. I mean, in Medieval was always our kind of like, wow, that reminds us of the Nightmare Before Christmas style with its kind of tongue-in-cheek gothic look, crooked houses, you know, massive valleys, things like that. Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, visually, I think it looks good, but graphically, it isn't holding up. It isn't. It's as simple as that. And I always remember bosses like there were basically a lot of basic shit. Like I always remember the spider where you got to rescue Sally, and it's like a giant spider. How imaginative, you know, that kind of shit. And talking about lack of imagination, combat and enemies. The actual standard enemy type, there are very few of them. It gets repetitive very quickly. And combat as well. While you can do some combos, there's only a handful, and it does get very repetitive, particularly as Jack says things while he's doing the combos, and that will get old very quickly. Yeah.
My last dislike will be you mentioned in your likes about obviously the switching the costumes.
Yep.
I mean, like you said, you always stuck with Jack himself because obviously of the weapon. But I think they could have done more to maybe make you want to change or at least force you.
Oh, like as in for this level, you must play as Santa Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not wrong because once you're able to switch back, why would you? If you enjoyed playing as one and you had it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that it for your dislikes?
Yeah.
Okay, favorite moments, scenes, bits of music. I mean, there isn't really any moments in this film. There aren't any film, game, or scenes. And we've already touched upon the music overall. The soundtrack's pretty cool. It's very reminiscent of the film and so on. So the only other thing I'm going to add here is that ultimately, if you want to play a version of The Nightmare Before Christmas that isn't Kingdom Hearts, but if you want to play a game that is completely The Nightmare Before Christmas, based and made with the title, this is the best version of the film you're going to get. This is the best version you're going to get. The earlier one I mentioned, The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Pumpkin King on Game Boy Advance, I actually went back a couple of months ago to play that on an emulator, and it was awful because it was a Game Boy Advanced game. I hated it. So, like, that's it. Those are two games. So here you've got the best version you're ever going to play. Yeah, that's really all I've got.
I'll go later.
Yeah. Forget listening to us talk about it. It's hard to play it because it's not really available on consoles today. So it's Christmas time. Instead, go sit down and watch the film. Right?
Yep, indeed.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl as well as Big Cartel where you can find some of our merchandise.
We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?